Perfect. Perfect.
Good morning, guys. What is up?
How you guys doing? Hopefully, can you hear me all right? I think I've been trying to fix my mic. Nina's hanging out over here. She got in trouble earlier today. Little Nina. She got in trouble because she's been pooping in the house. You shouldn't poop in the house. It's all right, though, Nina. Still love you. Just don't poop in the house. So let's see who's here. Mike is good. Yay! Mr. Shadow Kitty was first today. What's going on? We got Mr. Shadow Kitty. We've got Critical Cripple. What's up? Jove, how you doing? Purple rhymes with orange. I couldn't get... Okay, it's cold outside. I believe that. Purple hasn't been able to sleep, but too tired to keep my eyes open, so just listening. Fair enough. At least it's little dog size poop. Yes, but it was runny this morning. A little bit runny. So there. I was first. I reject your notions of linear time. Fair enough. So YouTube is being a bit of a jerk. YouTube's being a bit of a jerk. I couldn't actually do an event, schedule an event on YouTube where people could see it was coming. I try to do that at least an hour or two in advance before I do a show. I'm trying to get better at that. I need to just sit down one day and set up a whole bunch of shows and just do it that way. Just set aside time to do that, but I just haven't had the time. But that's okay. So today I found some really, 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 really cool stuff. So you need to use the new system. I am using the new system. The new system's broken. It's broken, guys. It's all janky and messed up. I even posted on Twitter about it. It was like, I've been using the new system. I followed the rules and everything. So if you look at my Twitter, I'm going to pull it up. I'll show you what error it's giving me every time. It's like, doesn't matter if, let's see. So this is what it gives me every time. This error message here. Stream could not be created. Try again or finish. Those are my options. Try again or finish. Every single time. So, boo. So I did this over and over and over again, and I finally just gave up, and I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. Forget it. So it's broken for now. So that's why I posted all the links on Twitter. You can find me on DLive, Twitch, Facebook, Periscope, which is on Twitter, YouTube. Just hop over there, So this is why you click the notification, so you can get notified when I go live. Please do that. Give that a go when you can. No rush or anything. My job has kept me pretty busy, so has to take precedence. And I've been telling patrons since it's the pandemic, if you need that money for something else, you can withdraw support for me, and that's okay. Because we're in a pandemic and people are don't have jobs right now. And I'm a fortunate person that I do. And I recognize that privilege. So it doesn't hurt my feelings if you can't financially support my work. Maybe just share it around if you want to and be like, hey, check this out. This was pretty funny. Or guys, look at this. This is crap. Let's go make fun of it. That's fine too. Either way, If you want to go that route, that's okay. There are different ways to help support what I do. So how are you guys doing? It's been a couple of weeks. It's just my brain stays in a constant state of entropy, I feel. And it's ever increasing. I think that's correlated with age. The older you get, the more your brain goes into a higher state of entropy. Less and less organized. And I'm reaching a point, in as much technology that I use, I'm reaching a point to where I just have to write things down. So I have an entirely separate book that I use to write things down in. It's my book of stuff and things. I'm like, I've got to do this stuff and things. And whatever I don't finish, I carry over to the next day. And they're like, well, that's kind of like a calendar. Yes, but there are no dates in mine. I don't have dates written down. I don't know what it is. It's strange. So I just make lists. So even though I'm like, I could use like all of the various calendars on the internet, Google Calendar. I do have a calendar in my phone, and there are some things I do with that. And then I'm like, okay. And then there's Outlook calendar, and then the Teams calendar. Like, there are so many calendars here. I'm a bit overwhelmed which one I can do that. Not that it helps you just schedule to stream fine. Well, that's great. YouTube's just being anti-redhead, I guess. Lovely. Dove is doing okay. Had a doc visit for med refills yesterday, and he's starting to screen for toxic stress problems. I'm sorry. Mel, Nina may have tummy issues and she may be pooping in order to tell you. No, this has been a consistent problem. Sometimes she's a ninja pooper. She will go somewhere and hide and poop. She goes outside. We take her outside regularly. I take her outside when I wake up, take her outside throughout the day. Sometimes I go outside and work and I take her with me. I don't think she's having tummy issues because she's eating just fine. But I appreciate that message. I know, and I appreciate your care for my doggy. She gets, she has a high level of anxiety too. We had that with one of our chihuahuas. She has high anxiety, and so I often, when I wake up in the morning, we have to have morning cuddles. She'll come over and she'll look at me and she'll put her paw on me and go, "Are you awake enough for us to have our morning cuddles?" And then if I look at her, I'm like, "I'm not yet awake." And then she'll go over. Yeah, they would hide it in places. Yes. Nina knows she's not supposed to poop in the house. And so I've found renegade turds behind my desk. Yes, I'm talking about you. It's all right. But it's not like it's diarrhea running. It's like it's, soft serve running. What is wrong? Okay. I'm going to give you a cuddle for right now. Okay. Nina, would you like to tell your side of the story? Do you have anything to say? No? Okay. Well, you were making sounds over there just a second ago. I figured I would give you an opportunity to talk. Okay. She is. She has floofy toes, too. Little floofy toes. But that's all right. She's all right. It's okay. Are you all right? Do you want to go back to your bed? Do you want Down to go back to your bed? Are you not feeling this today? Okay. I'll put you down and you can go back to your bed. Yep. She's like, I don't feel like being on camera today. And that's all right. I'd go if she's doing it because it's gotten cold outside. It has gotten cold outside, particularly in the mornings. She does enjoy the sunshine, though, when it's warm. But if it's cold outside, she doesn't want to go out there. So that's how it goes. Anyway, Nina has gone back to her bed. She's like, I'm doing this now. And I've put hair in my coffee, in case you're wondering. It's that kind of morning. Well, at least it's my hair. Okay. Hey, Mediocrity's Maze. How are you? I have a palm chi, but he's a happy social butterfly. Nina can be too. Nina, she tends to have high anxiety, and she gets like really shaky, and so in order to kind of calm the shakiness, I just have to hold her for a little while, and then she's like, okay, I feel better, and then I put her down. She's okay. But she's a sweet dog. Nina's sweet. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, that hair was mine. That hair was mine, Purple. So what are we going to talk about today? So if you notice, morning Pocus Focus, I've got a new thing over here in the left corner. It's my new fancy thing I've got where it says stream starting soon. And so I've got that. And so here's my little thumbnail that I couldn't, put up before because YouTube's being a booger, but it's fine. Anyway, so this is what we're talking about today. We're talking about megalodon, arsenic bacteria, and the latest CRISPR stuff with the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. It's a pretty exciting time for science. Even though it's a hot mess in America, it's a hot mess here. And just to kind of just a little personal opinion here with this. When you saw the smaller thumbnail, I thought it was a rocket ship rather than a shark. Yes, Purple. And it just kind of does look like, but I was like, I really wanted like the teeth to go like, and so I get various, CRISPR stuff is always cool, Jeff. I get various comments about my thumbnails. Some people are like, you should just have them drawn. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I could, but I can't draw. But I do know lots of artists, and I want to support those artists. And I do. I support artists whenever I can. Anybody who does work for me, if they will let me pay them, I will pay them. If they feel like that's what they want to do to contribute because they can't do it financially, gonna go for it as one of those people. He does a lot of stuff for me. He does a lot of stuff for me. And that's his gift to me as a form of support for my work. So, but it's like my thumbnails. I put these together myself, and I use a website called canva.com, and I'm able to find different images. So it's kind of like a collage, kind of found art kind of thing. So I just go and I look for things and I try to aesthetically put it together, and I end up with things like that. And for my show This Week in BS, that this was the last one we had, the last episode we had, where we talked about COVID-19 sympathy problem involving Donald Trump and Melania, that sort of thing. So give that episode a view if you hadn't had a chance yet. It's on my channel, youtube.com/ScientistMel, where many of you are watching right now. But this Sunday, we're going to talk about, hey, Harmonica Man, how are you doing? I try to say hi to everybody who pops in the chat. So if I haven't said hi to you, just type in all caps like you're a conservative trying to get a point across, particularly a bigoted, misogynistic conservative. Hey, you didn't say hi to me. So, okay. Awesome, Purple. Thanks for chatting with us. It's okay if you can't type today. If you're tired, it's, So there you go. So, anyway, this Sunday on This Week in BS, I have Nervardia, my co-host. We will be talking about, I think we're going to talk about some of the weight loss things, particularly the stuff that Facebook keeps throwing at me. Facebook's been throwing lots of stuff at me. Like they now have this weighted thing and it has handles. a steering wheel, and it's got a weight in the middle, and then you just throw it around really hard. I'm like, that's a great way to throw your back out if you don't know what you're doing with that particular movement. And I for one, I really do need to exercise more. I used to exercise a whole lot about 3 or 4 years ago. I was exercising like 5 days a week, and then it dropped to 3 days a week. And now it's like sometimes. And so I used to run like 3 miles at least 3 days a week. And I could probably lightly jog 3 miles right now. Maybe. No, I'm not even going to say that. I don't think I could run 3 miles now. And I always promised myself I would not get to that point, but I've gotten to that point. Thanks anxiety and COVID-19 and pandemic and just general malaise over the past 4 years living in this country, with the state that it is in. But it doesn't do well with the mental health stuff. But I have converted part of my kitchen into a gym. I just need to use it more. But at least when I walk in there, I see it every time. And it reminds me, you should be exercising. And I'm like, yes, I should. So I'm hoping to implement more of that starting Monday, maybe Sunday morning. But do check out This Week in BS on Sunday. We're going to talk about a lot of those contraptions. And some of the ideas that they perpetuate, a lot of the shaming that goes into, you need to lose weight. Are you an apple shape? Are you a pear shape? We need to talk about your body. And I'm like, this is kind of gross. So why are people, but to be fair, the weight loss industry makes a lot of freaking money. And a lot of that comes from shaming people for their bodies. And it's pretty gross. And so we'll be talking a bit about that on Sunday, along with some glorious hot takes on social media that we've seen as of late from particularly just grifter, awful people. But there you go. You guys like my mug? It's Halloween time. This is actually, I got a pretty bright screen over here, so there you go. Now you can see it better. Brains are coming out. Since it's Halloween season, so I'm excited. I like that. All right. So that's a little bit of admin there. I am working on open education resources. I had applied for a grant. Hey, Nerdy wrote it. I had applied for a grant at the college where I work, and we weren't approved. It wasn't even a lot. It wasn't a whole lot of money, but we were going to shift one of the courses that we have to open education resources. Jurassic Park, yeah, but it's like, oh gosh, hey, Josh Power on Facebook, what's up? Yeah, but it's like a cab. Cool mug, thank you. So I'm going to shift to making my own open education resources available on this channel. Using, let me just show you. There's OpenStax. I don't know if you're familiar with that. OpenStax chemistry. So let me talk a little bit about this. If you are a person who wants to buff up or rediscover the joy that is chemistry, and I understand there are people who are like right now going, oh my God, the fear is real. I know because I work with it all the time. So we have math involved, we have chemistry, but I break it down in a way that's accessible. I teach you how, and I go through, and often when you're reading like a textbook, chemistry or sciencey things for the first time, it's like you're reading Shakespeare for the first time. You have no idea what they're saying because you don't speak that way. And so what I had to do to learn Shakespeare was to get one of the plays, sit down and watch a movie or watch a performance of it while going through the play, and then go, oh, he's hitting on her. That's what that is right now. Oh, they're being sexy right now. Oh gosh, he's really mad and he just insulted him. You can tell by, so context, contextual in a performance is really important with that. And that's where a lot of chemistry falls, is trying to demystify the language and the math. The math for me, when I go through it, comes later. The math is really important, but it comes a bit later. The concepts are important, and you do need a little bit of algebra. Hey, bigzebra.com, what's up? So what I plan to do, I'm going to use OpenStax. It has a free textbook available. They're completely open. You can use this information. Here's instructors, resources. You can get all that. There's student resources. So you can get the book details, download a PDF of the book. You can view it online. And so what I intend to do is use this readily available textbook that costs you nothing. You can order a print copy if you want. I might do that so I can support this particular organization. And then I'll generate videos that are associated and follow along with this textbook. It will go and it'll be with each individual chapter or even unit if you want. And I'll knock it out, and it'll be a bunch of little bite-sized videos, like each one of these, like 1.1, 1.2. Okay. All right. Thanks. I'll break it down, and there'll be a video associated with each one of these. So there'll be about, 15, 20-minute videos. Probably not even that. So this introduction is pretty short. Yeah, so that's not a whole lot. Maybe 2 videos per chapter, maybe 2 or 3 at best. But I think to give you a textbook where you have access to it, me making videos that go along with it, that would be a good supplemental thing, particularly since a lot of college and a lot, post-secondary education is going to be moving online. And I have a feeling that's going once we get past this pandemic, that's still going to be an option for people. I think because that makes education more accessible for individuals. And once they learn how to navigate that, and once professors learn how to navigate that territory, that's going to be something that's going to stick around. So it's really important. So I'll be doing a series of videos associated with that, where I'm going through all of the fundamentals, about 2 to 3 videos per section. And so I'll reference this textbook. You'll be able to come back over here and have a look and go, okay. And it'll hit all of those things. I'll be working problems on my whiteboard. So it's like I have a whiteboard here, and I do have a doc cam. So I have problems here, be able to go through. This tells the total delta G, Gibbs free energy of a reaction, right? So I'll go through and I'll be working problems with you and stuff like that, which will be cool. Oh, gosh. So let me catch up on the chat. You guys have been saying lots of stuff and things. But yeah, so have a look about that. Keep your eyes peeled for that. That's something that I will be making available on this channel. Thinking about starting a different channel. I don't know, because this is mostly live streams. And I don't want people to get lost, but I need to just probably organize my YouTube channel better. So So that way you have playlists for each of these. But that's up and coming, and I will be doing a lot more with that. It just got really, I think my camera got like super dark on me. Great. It's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to like auto adjust, but now it just got darker. That's all right. At least I don't look washed out. Okay. Hello, Woolly Ignorant. What's going on? Alrighty. Let me catch up. I'm here to be a delight, says Big Zebra. Aren't you always a delight? Alrighty. The fear. That's right, Nerdy Rodent. The fear is real when it comes to chemistry and math. And I find people shut down quite a bit. And it needs more linear algebra. Yes. Excel is your friend in general chemistry too, guys. Graphs and, trend lines and equations. We'll fix that. So yes, everyone everywhere needs more linear algebra. I agree. I kind of wish this handle was on the left-hand side, because it's like, I want to hit my mic here. Excel can't do genetics. Why is there a Python in the video playing on my other monitor? Python in the video. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Alrighty. Let me see, Dave. I don't know what that is. That is an amazing mug. ScientistMel, thank you. Hello, Bill Thompson in Scotland. Thank you for good luck in my new project. I shall try. I would like to get back into study and overcome the brain-stopping medications I'm on. Let's see. Delta G in the house. That's right. And you too can calculate the total delta G of a reaction just by taking the total moles of each of the products, multiplying it by that delta G energy, and then subtracting the reactants from that. But I'll go through all of that in those videos. You love that shirt. Thank you, Greg Lira. How you doing? It's as if the dinosaur is a cabbie, Jurassic Park. Alrighty. Excel is also limited to just 1 million rows. That's true. You can't use Excel as a database. It's not a database, guys. But it's great if you want to analyze data pretty quickly as far as, titrations, concentrations, that sort of thing. So there you go. There you go. All right. So let's talk a bit about science. We've been talking about all kinds of things. So this is what we're hitting today. Megalodon. There's new stuff on Megalodon. There's new stuff about bacteria that survives on arsenic. We're going to do some COVID-19 updates as well as CRISPR stuff. So now that I've talked everybody to death and made everybody crazy, let's go ahead and look at the National Science Foundation. So this is where I go to get a lot of my news, and you can check it out. nsf.gov/news. That's what you type in, and you too can follow along with me. I'll put it in the chat here. Here you go. nsf.gov/news. And you can follow along and see what the latest and greatest in science is. There was a lot of stuff that came out this week. But there's a couple of things that I wanted to check out today. Without oxygen, Earth's early microbes relied on arsenic to sustain life. Who knew that? Who had that coming? Pocus focus. Excel is great if you know how to use it. I am not a fan because learning it is a pain. That's true, particularly when you're learning how to do the equation functions and stuff. But once you get it, man, it's a boss. Nerdy wrote it, not to be mistaken for NSFW. Well, not safe for the government, I guess. NSF Gov. At least they think it's not safe. People, some folks in the government do not care for the science, except when it suits them. Wonder who that is. I'm just gonna let that marinate for a second. Lots of folks in the politics, they don't really like the science until the science suits them, you know. Is this like the NASA find about arsenic-based life instead of phosphorus? Well, let's see. Let's click on it and see what's going on. Nina has decided to come back, guys. So, Nina, are you ready for your close-up? You ready for your close-up? Mr. DeVille, I'm ready for my close-up. Here we go. What's up? She's got a little cataract in her eye. But we gonna handle that. We'll get that fixed. So Nina's back. Alrighty. Science Doggo is back. Yes, she's my supervisor. She micromanages me a lot, including walking on my keyboard and showing me how I should type. Yes, I know. And on my book that I write things on. Broke the stream. Oh no. I hope not. So here we go. So this is in Research News. These clues were found in microbial mats in Laguna La Brava in the Atacama Desert in Chile. That looks pretty cool. We need 3D glasses for this. Yeah, just coming right at you. You know, hey, that's an excellent idea, Mr. Shadow Kitty. I really think if we're going to do IMAX stuff, let's do IMAX 3D glasses with doggos. Like a whole hour of that. Where doggos are coming at you. Doggos running outside. Puppies playing around on the floor. Doggos coming at you wanting to lick your face. All in 3D. I'm for that. Okay. I think that's great. Okay. So this was just 3 days ago this was posted. So if you didn't know, life on Earth needs oxygen to exist. A lot of it does, you know. So a lot of life on Earth needs oxygen to exist. Who knew that? 3D IMAX dogs with a wide-angle lens. Yes! Nothing but dogs for an hour and a half to 2 hours, 3D, and surround sound where you can hear the woofing all the way around. And puppy head tilts. I'm for that. So for nsf.gov/news, these are all articles that they post associated with research that they funded. So this particular one. So here they're talking about photosynthesis. A key component of the oxygen cycle occurs when plants and some types of bacteria, photosynthetic bacteria, cyanobacteria is one of those, and the first ones to exhibit photosynthetic behavior back in the old, geological and fossil record. And they convert them to carbohydrates and oxygen, and then it's cycled by organisms that breathe oxygen. So that's photosynthesis and respiration. So this is like taking it back. So what's this going through? So they discovered active microbial mats in the harsh conditions of Laguna La Brava in the Atacama Desert in Chile. Now, you knew that? Awesome, Harmonica Man. I'm proud of you. Some people forget stuff, and that's all right. You knew that. That's amazing. I forget things often, like paying my water bill. So if you remember that, I'm proud of you. So there are things I forget that I shouldn't, but I do. So we're talking about extremophiles here. Those are types of bacteria that can live in where it's super, super hot or super, super cold, in what would be considered normally toxic conditions, that sort of thing. And so what does this mean? These particular mats present an otherworldly set of conditions like early Earth. They are in a unique environment that leaves them in a permanent oxygen-free state at high altitude. They're exposed to wild daily temperature swings and high ultraviolet light conditions. Now, ultraviolet light is what we consider a carcinogen. And the reason why it does that, well, the reason why we consider that is because of the frequency of wavelengths of the frequency and the short wavelengths of those particular photons. And so when you get a certain amount of energy of photons, where those frequencies, where you have lots of waves passing past a particular point, you get enough energy there, you can go and just bust up some DNA, right? So that's why ultraviolet light's considered a carcinogen. And so what we see is certain organisms are able to tolerate really high, high exposure to ultraviolet light. So they're able to sustain and keep going regardless of the fact they're getting up blasted with a high amount of energy. That should be tearing up some of their, DNA and other molecules that would be essential for life. So our team started. So the mat serve is earlier. Okay. So our team started working in Chile, where we found a blood red river. Wow, we're getting Old Testament here. The water is very high in arsenic. Oh my gosh, and flows over the microbial mats that contain hydrogen sulfide. There is absolutely no oxygen. And so the researchers saw that they were making carbonate. The carbonate evidence showed evidence for arsenic cycling, proving that the microbes are actively metabolizing arsenic, much like oxygen in our modern systems. So, there you go. Bacteria is metabolizing arsenic and incorporating it into making carbonate. So carbonate's usually made when you got calcium involved. You see carbonate in like the ocean with the shells of different crustaceans. And so one thing that is an issue, particularly with an increased amount of carbon dioxide in the water, is the generation of carbonic acid, which can break down that carbonate. So there you go. Oh, gosh. So, yes, you're adorable, Harmonica Man says. Well, thank you. It's particularly fun when you forget to pay your water bill. And when I was teaching high school out here where I live, they knew me and they knew like I had paid my bill, but I was like $5 short for some reason. I just, I usually just pay a flat amount, because I lose the bill sometimes. And so I'm like, it's probably about this much. And they tried to call me while I was teaching class, and I didn't get any kind of reception in the classroom. And so they ended up cutting off my water over $5. I was very upset about that because I had to pay $25 to turn it back on. But there you go. I have very expensive mistakes sometimes. But yes. Perry Pilot, good to see science organizations and publications stating their political stance anti-Trump this week, many for the first time. Yes. Because in this particular climate, science illiteracy and willful ignorance when it comes to science is lethal, and it's killing people right now, i.e. COVID-19. So that's why I haven't been silent about it. Once they came over into my lane, which happened less than a year ago, about a little more than a year ago. Actually, when I started this, Trump had been elected, and that's part of the reason why I started this, was to increase science literacy. I mean, I don't have millions of followers. I don't get thousands of views. but I'm still a voice of reason, and people feel like they can come to me and ask me questions without fear of ridicule or, if you come yelling at me, at my house, though, I'm not going to just be quiet about it. And I've had some people in my mentions on Twitter and social media just come yelling at me. And I'm like, yeah, we don't do that here. So it's like, I don't know who you're yelling at because I'm not engaging. So it's really important that people, point out when something is wrong and lethal. And given at my job, 70% of the people that I work with are poverty line. Many of them are people of color. They're brown, black people. I have people from different ethnicities. They're all minorities, and they're all struggling in this pandemic. And it would be grossly irresponsible. And, if I didn't acknowledge what's going on, I'm not going to downplay their life experiences. They come to me to help make their life better through chemistry education. I'm not about to just pretend that everything else isn't happening and not affecting them on a very deep level, even economically, education-wise, health-wise. I'm seeing a lot of things. So I think it's really important for me to not be quiet, particularly when the people that I am trying to help are suffering. So yes. Mats. Yes, we were talking about mats. So I can pull up what those are. We probably need to discuss what that is. Pocus Focus. The sun, I brought you into this world. I can take you out. Yeah, that's right. With the sun, the nuclear reactor that is the sun. Especially when you say we can drink Lysol. To be quite fair, when I was teaching biology and evolution became a thing, and that I had to teach, particularly in the Bible Belt, and I had a lot of resistance with that. And how I went about that was I'm like, I don't have degrees in religion. Why would you want me to teach creation? And then that made sense in their mind. You want to learn about creationism, talk to an expert. Go talk to a pastor, talk to whomever, has a background in that. I have a science background. And so that's what I focus on. And that's been effective for me. But the Lysol thing, it's like, I used to make a joke saying, I want to go to the Walmart and remove all the warning labels and see what happens. So it's just like, that would be an excellent demonstration of natural selection to the students. And then I'd be like, they'd say, well, evolution is just a theory. I said, well, we can simultaneously test both theories at the same time. We can all go to the top of the building, and I can shove y'all off the top of the building. And those of you who are smart enough, or at least maneuver yourself in a way to land in a tree versus the ground, you get to pass your genes on to your children. Your agile genes or your strategic genes. You get to pass those on to your kids. The rest of you that just hit the ground, sorry. So gravity still works, and that would be evolution through natural selection. And so that was a comical way of talking about it. Or the zombie apocalypse. I always like to bring that up. Like, I don't have to outrun the zombies. I just got to outrun you. So if we're in the zombie apocalypse, I'm going to put bells on your necks. Maybe I'll even trip you or set up a trap to where they can catch you and not me. And then I get to pass my strategic genes on to my kids. Because I know I can't outrun a whole bunch of teenagers, particularly the ones that are athletes and run track. So I have to go, what are my advantages here? I'm like, but if I were to fall, then, get eaten by the zombies, you would get to pass your running genes onto your kids. So it's like, so yes. Kind of was thinking about that when you brought up when they say we can drink Lysol. Greg Lira, hey Greg Lira, how you doing? He says, is it wrong for me to want to have my county partially closed if I know numbers are growing dramatically? I live in Riverside, California. Probably not. Also, how is economically we are suffering when people are still buying stuff and paying bills? Well, Some people are not paying bills. I know people that are living in their car right now. We're suffering economically in the fact that a lot of people can't pay their bills, you know? Hey, Kristen Frost Laser Beams, what's going on? 2020 has been Halloween all year and April Fool's gone wrong. That might be true. Alrighty. What if I want to keep all the jeans for myself? Maybe. Outrun Pimp Monks. Poor Pimp. He recently messaged me to see if I'm free next week. I might be on his show. Hey, Iron Charioteer. What's going on? What's going on with you? All right. So let's look up these microbial mats. We probably need to break that down a bit more. So let me get an example for you. Microbial mats. All right. It's a multi-layered sheet of microorganisms, mainly bacteria and archaea, and also just bacterial. Microbial mats grow at interfaces between different types of material, mostly on submerged or moist surfaces. There's a word some of y'all hate. So let's have a look according to nasa.gov. Here's a PDF. I'm going to put this in the chat here. And you guys can have a look at this. Microbial mats. I'm going to blow this up so you guys can have a look. Control B. I forget. I can't just paste. Alrighty. I've heard that volcanoes can cause bodies of water to turn red. So what do you think? Well, I just read for this particular article that there was a high level of arsenic. So maybe it has to do with the chemical composition that's going on there. Hey, Major back. What's going on? Sulfur may cause red. That's true too. And sulfur exists at very high temperatures. We have all the sulfur vents underneath the water, where some extremophile forms of bacteria live. Mats made of microbial stromatolites. Yes. So this is pretty cool. So I put a link to this particular PDF in the various chats you can find on whatever platform you're watching this on right now. And you can have a look. We can find them streams, lakes, soils. You can find them in drinking fountains. Doesn't that make you happy? You can find microbial mats in drinking fountains. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Stromatolites sounds like an Italian dish. It kind of does. I would like a side of stromatolites, please. That would be really nice with my garlic breadsticks. My unlimited garlic breadsticks and my salad. I haven't eaten at the Olive Garden in probably a long time. I like their salad and their soups. And I tried their zucchini noodles there once. I think it's been like a year and a half since I ate there, maybe. But yeah, so essentially these mats let us know what's going on with a particular, like a micro ecosystem. So you can, and your teas. So that's right, Greg Lira. So these particular mats let us know what's going on a microbial level. And so we can see the chemical processes, particularly if they're preserved in an area that is relatively not tampered with. So with this particular one, we were dealing with microbial mats at Laguna La Brava in the desert at a really high altitude. And so this particular mat was subjected to lots and lots of ultraviolet radiation. And so it's clearly an extremophile situation, particularly in the fact that it is completely immersed in arsenic. So why are these important is because if we can see mats, these little mats, and look at the conditions that they're in, that can give us clues on how life was, particularly in that situation with the arsenic metabolizing bacteria. It lets us know a little bit of what early Earth might have looked like and how it is that early single cellular organisms were able to survive and gain energy. And so in this case, microbes that are metabolizing arsenic. Kind of cool. Alrighty, ScientistMel, Iron Cherry Tear says, do you think that Nile turning red was because of the Santorini volcano? Nile in the Moses story. Possibly. It's very possible. I don't rule that out. I think a lot of those stories are really, really cool stories. And it's interesting to kind of reflect on what was going on scientifically at the time that the people would report it that way. And so at the time, it probably looked like they turned to blood, So that's certainly fair. Alrighty. So, yes, gosh, I need to get a winner for the package. I need to look at the Streamlabs thing. I'm going to put that down. I probably need to stream a little bit more and let people earn some more points before I give out any prizes. And so there you go. All right. So that's microbial mats. So what else is going on? Megalodon, guys. Megalodon. I want a package. Dibs. Yes, the package could include just about anything. I've got a t-shirt. This is one that you can only win just by getting points. You can't buy it. This isn't a for sale t-shirt. I have mugs. I usually throw in something from my background here, and a limited edition artwork piece that was made just for my shows. And it's a postcard with a special message on the back. And so I write it out, and then I grab something from my background because I have enough stuff I can just do that. I look like a hoarder, so is that some... No, this one was a collaborative piece of artwork between me, the Geek Room, and Peter's design. Peter, also known as Gonna Go For It. There's a certain individual who was not very nice to us and quite rude, and even had a little bit of hate streams about me. So I'm like, okay. So we made a really funny shirt to just kind of take that hate. And we've talked about doing little parody versions of myself where it's goofy. And I do have a portion of my website called Blocked By, where all of the proceeds are donated to charity. So anytime I have a parody shirt about a particularly not nice person on the internet, all of that money goes to charities. I don't profit off of that. But that's just my particular perspective on that. Something I choose to do. Turn somebody's not nice comments into something productive for, society. So, Bill, isn't that the $1 million question? There is merch on my site. I will neither confirm nor deny that, but that's the $1 million question, isn't it? There are certain individuals who've made it onto that particular section of my Blocked By store, who have said completely horrible things about me and have done not nice things and attempted to harm my character, my credibility. The whole Cam Girl for Science, which I have a mug back there, was from somebody who was perpetuating a rumor. Well, actually, it was completely false that I was a sex worker online that was fed that line by my online stalker. And she was told that, and she kind of didn't care. And so she kept perpetuating that, and she finally stopped when she found out that I had filed a police report on the individual. And I just update that file when I need to, whenever he comes back So there's that. And that one of that person's friends, this guy, had a hate stream, has had a couple hate streams about me, just to try to slander and hurt my reputation. And so my response is to not have a hate stream, to not respond to it, and make merchandise and donate that money to charity. Like that shirt. So that's my response. That's the only response that they get from me, is I take their hatred and their not nice things and turn it into making money for charity. So that particular merchandise goes to the Arizona Museum of Natural History. So that money goes there. The money for the Cam Girl, the Blocked By series. The Cam Girl for Science is stuff. I make money on that because I'm just going to own that. I wasn't a sex worker or anything. But she used that to try to discredit me, which it shouldn't. But there you go. And then, so all of her Blocked By merchandise goes to Planned Parenthood, the Anxiety Depression Association of America, organizations like that, because of her misrepresentation of science, particularly with those particular things like abortion and depression and anxiety and stuff like that. So there you go. All you gotta do is just point them out. I will take care of the rest. I possess a set of unique skills. I appreciate that, Iron Charioteer. But I just let them get angry and just say whatever. They're clearly people that are very sad and miserable, and this is all they have, is to behave that way. Then they show who they are, and that's all right. And if it gets really bad, I just get the police involved. So that's what I do. So yeah. But there you go. Sinister Porpoise. I have no idea who she's talking about. It's not like anyone, after being attacked by someone, donned flapping gear and started mocking this mysterious figure. It was being mean to you, Mel. Well, I hope I sorted that out a little bit. Can I say Steve is a lame? You can say whatever you want, Bill Thompson. I can't, you are entitled to your opinion. So there you go. I just try not to stir the pot too much. I just try not to stir the pot too much. But if somebody asks, I'll be honest and just, take that discussion to a private conversation rather than publicly stir anything up. I'm not that kind of person. But the people that he has surrounded himself with have been particularly awful to me. And so I just avoid all of them. And I've got several of them blocked. The Whisper Smear campaign that was done towards me on multiple occasions in the form of private videos that people were sharing and then talking about publicly. I'm like, but we weren't allowed to watch it. I mean, so they're all meant to be attacks on my character, and they've all backfired tremendously because I don't address it. I just am like, okay, and then I move on. And if I do address it, it's in the form of merchandise where I donate the funds to charity, and they didn't like that either. So it doesn't matter. But if I'm going to have a response, it's going to be in the form of a way for me to help benefit society. I'm not just going to rage and be angry and try to make money off of me going off about a person. I don't want to do that. I feel like that's extremely unethical, and it's not something I'm interested in. So if I'm going to do anything as a response, it's going to benefit society, not anything else. So there you go. Moving on. Let's talk about Megalodon. Hopefully that answered any questions associated with that. Right, Nina? She gets me. She's shaking again. Poor thing. So, the body size of the extinct Megalodon. I think I spelled Megalodon wrong in the title. My goodness. Hey, Mr. P. What's up? How you doing? So body size of the extinct megalodon shark is off the charts. It's off the charts, guys. Would they say it's off the shizzle? What would Snoop Dogg say in this case? This is for shizzle nizzle. I don't know. I don't do the slang so great with it, what the hip kids are doing these days. I'm terrible at that. So, a non-planktivorous sharks in the lamniformes. See, this is where I need Jackson Wheat. Off the shizzle, my Mr. P, educating me on the slang. Megalodon nizzle. Is it megalodizzle? Which one sounds better? We need a shirt I need a shirt that says megalodizzle. That's my new design, guys. I just need a big old shark and that says megalodizzle. Megalondonizzy. I feel like we have a new t-shirt, guys. Megalodizzle. That I can make. Oh my goodness. Poll it, Mel. I should. Okay. I'll put in a poll on YouTube and on Twitter and we'll see. What's the new t-shirt's gonna be? Megalodonizzy? Megalodonizzy? Or is it megalodizzle? Which one do we like? So, megalodonizzle? We can do all of those things. Oh my goodness. Megalodizzle. I like that. That's hilarious to me. I'm going to be laughing about that all day. I am so easily amused. So, it's off the boat diddle. Oh, got a giggle snort in there. Oh, gosh. Oh, my goodness. So check this out, guys. A new study shows that the body size of the iconic, gigantic, or megatooth shark, about 15 meters. And those of us who are not metric, that's 50 feet in length. It was indeed anomalously, it's like an anomalous thing, anomalously large compared to the body sizes of its relatives. You're off the hook, Mel. I know. We're crunk up in here, guys. We're getting crunk up in here. I used to DJ. This is what's really sad. I actually used to DJ. And at the time that I was DJing, crunk was the word. Crunk was the word. We would get crunk up in there. And when somebody asked me to play MC Hammer, I would say no. And we never played the Macarena. We didn't do that there. Do not ask me for the frickin' Macarena. Anyway, there you go. So, new study shows that this, so formerly called this really long word, Otodus megalodon, lived about 3.6 to 15 million years ago, is receiving a renewed look for the significance of its body size based on a new study in the journal Historical. I almost wanted to read that as hysterical. Historical biology. Let's click on this. Let's see what we can get. Is it going to be behind a paywall? That's the question. And no, bird is the word. Have you heard about the bird? Have you heard it? Oh my God. Now that episode of Family Guy is going to be in my head all day. It's a full article. We got the full article, guys. Woohoo! No paywall. High five. All right. We contend the ovoviviparous reproduction involving intrauterine cannibalism. Baby sharks eating each other in utero. Possible synapomorphy of, lamniformes. See, I'm a scientist and I trip over some of these words, even though I do understand how to read the Latin. Making me say stuff, man. It's hard sometimes. to be another plausible driver for the evolution of the endothermy achieved by certain lamniforma taxa. So essentially, it was there are 4 genera that included at least one member that reached greater than 6 meters during both the Mesozoic and Cenozoic, most of which are endothermic. Okay. Let's see. Here we present measurements taken from specimens of all 13 species of extant macrophagous lamniforms to generate functions that will allow estimations of body, jaw, and dentition, that's teeth, tooth links of extinct macrophages and lamniforms from their teeth. Yeah, see, there we go. So they just figured out how big they are based on their teeth. So let's have a look at this picture. Look at this, man. This is what they did. So they went through and they looked at the teeth. Now, guys, the thing about megalodon, which makes it really hard in any kind of shark where the majority of the body is cartilage, is that cartilage doesn't fossilize so great. But calcium-based hard bone does. That fossilizes pretty well. And so the teeth are the things that tend to exist because that's the only thing that's left. The rest of it degrades pretty rapidly. So there you go. So that's essentially what they do when they're trying to determine the size of megalodon. And they base the shapes of what the cartilage looks like on the current types of sharks and the closest thing that are related to their teeth. So this is pretty cool. Let's see, we got more pictures. There's some graphs, guys. Pro tip on graphs here. The way to kind of determine what you're looking at, you want to look at the x-axis and the y-axis. The y-axis is what they're measuring. And so usually that's the independent variable. And then the x-axis is, the independent variable is the x-axis. The y-axis is the dependent variable, and that's what they're measuring. So when you're going through, see, I said that backwards, and everybody's going to be like, oh my God. Off the scale gigantism of the megatooth shark. So, geez, man. Good gravy. Okay, so they had upper jaw length. TL is the total body length. And what's CH? CH is... I'm trying to find where CH is. I can't find it in here. Come on, guys. There's CH. CCH. What is the CH? I need to go through and find out what that particular thing means. Upper definition length, lower jaw length, upper jaw length. Well, I get that, but it's not telling me. Okay, whatever. So that's pretty groovy. Let's see. Mel is anti-80s disco. I've played disco. I was regularly hired by a local fraternity to do their 70s night. I DJ'd for 5 years, guys, in 3 different states. I did all right. Make $200 in a weekend. But at the time, that was, that was part of my 4 jobs. So, X is overtime. Usually it's overtime. I'm biased against parachute pants, says Focus Focus. I just had Hammer put in my head so much. I'm like, I was legit to quit after a while. So there you go. So that's pretty cool. So you guys can check out this article on the nsf.gov. And this was at DePaul University. Again, another National Science Foundation study. And I mentioned we would talk about CRISPR. I'll revive your turntables for your fans only account. I don't have a fans only. Megalomouth Dante. Harmonica man. Oh goodness. let's get the Nobel Prize for Chemistry. So this is a press statement that they had. And we'll talk a bit about CRISPR. Oh, goodness. You know, I really do. A couple years ago, local person, DJ type person was like, you should come back and DJ. It's totally different now. I mean, I had turntables, CDs. I spun on site and I mixed on site. There was no pre-making mixes or anything like that. I mixed while I was there. People don't, so I actually mixed while I was there, sampled while I was there, did all the stuff. So Mel does disco. Do a little dance, make a little science, get down tonight, where we can drop the bass and then we have to clean it up. Oh, goodness. CRISPR technology. So we had some ladies win the Nobel Prize for Chemistry, first time in a really long time. I did have 2 turntables and a microphone. Where it's at? 2 turntables and a microphone. That was a good drum bass. Pick yourself up. Okay, yeah, Beck. I saw Beck in concert. Very, very amazing. He does a lot of improv while he's on stage. It's cool. Anyway, CRISPR-Cas9. So Jennifer Doudna of University of California, Berkeley, and Emmanuel Charpentier of the Max Planck Unit for the Science of Pathogens in Berlin. They developed a method for genome editing associated with CRISPR. CRISPR started as a basic science, curiosity-driven project. We'll have a look at that in a second. So this was the statement about the Nobel Prize announcement. So CRISPR-Cas9 is opening new and exciting worlds of possibility in fields as wide-ranging as bioengineering, medicine, agriculture, even manufacturing. Researchers are still working to understand the full potential of this important discovery and tool. The teams behind this groundbreaking discovery have uncovered and developed fundamental science that will result in applications over several decades. NSF has long supported the research of Jennifer Doudna and her CRISPR lab with grants including a prestigious Alan T. Waterman Award. We congratulate Nobel laureates Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuel Charpentier for this amazing achievement. So let's see. Where did that go? Is that it? Huh? So...
CRISPR is a technology for changing.
Let's have a look a little bit at this. This might be cool. And it got dark.
The sequence of DNA in cells in a precise fashion to correct mutations that might otherwise cause disease.
Now, some of the early issues that were associated with CRISPR was the fact that you might have certain, and so what it does is those Cas9s, they go and attach to a portion of the code, the genetic code that needs to be modified. Now, some of the early issues that they were having with that is the fact that that enzyme, it has a certain type of half-life. And another problem was the fact that this particular enzyme could latch on to the wrong portion of the genetic code if it looked similar to something else. And so that was one of the biggest issues when CRISPR was starting out.
So scientists can actually change an individual base pair in the more than 3 billion base pairs in a human cell. The fun thing about the CRISPR technology for me is that this is a project that started off as a basic science, curiosity-driven project. It was a collaboration between my lab and the lab of Emmanuel Charpentier. We teamed up to discover the function of the protein Cas9 and how it acts to disrupt viral DNA in bacteria that have a viral infection. We came to understand the way that Cas9 is programmed by RNA molecules in bacteria to recognize specific DNA sequences and then
So that's essentially where a lot of this started, was discovering Cas9 within a bacteria, and how it is that bacteria are actually able to repair any kind of DNA that's affected by viruses. And so that Cas9 goes in and it attaches to the viral DNA that's incorporated within that bacteria, and it removes it and then connects the pieces together. And so that's kind of how this started. So she's been involved in this particular research for a while. Let's jump ahead a bit and see what she has to say.
And applications. It stretches from human therapeutics to agricultural applications to thinking about how do we make better biofuels.
So this is a particularly important discovery because of the fact we can go in and hit a particular aspect of DNA, a particular gene, take it out, remove it. We can incorporate more different genes. So as far as repairing genetic diseases, there's potential application there. We have to be really careful. While a lot of genetic diseases have been found, which particular gene is associated with that. One of the things is one gene doesn't usually control just one particular aspect. So some more information about, and it'll be genetic, it will be disease specific on whether or not CRISPR would be an effective technology for it, because we've learned that one gene doesn't usually control just one thing. One gene can control multiple things. Hello, cold as Fook. How you doing? So you have to go through and you'll have to, it'll be disease specific for people. So you got to consider that. Now, as far as like biofuels, plants, things like that, again, you'll have similarities there, as far as one gene doing one thing, but, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how far they get with this. So congrats to Dr. Doudna for her Nobel Prize in CRISPR technology. I think this was particularly related to, I believe my understanding is the coronavirus. Let me see. Was it the coronavirus? CRISPR coronavirus, I think. Okay, that was somebody else. But let's go ahead and pull this up. Let's have a look at this. I thought I'd seen something. So let's move into COVID-19 updates. All right. Let's see. So, for instance, cancer could be the lesser of two evils, but we won't know till we change something and find out. Maybe. My roommate will not let me bring up CRISPR technology despite my assurance that my experiments on her are unlikely to be successful. Oh my goodness. Be careful, man. Oh gosh. So, okay. Now, as far as cancer treatments, the best options we have right now are immunotherapies, to where you can take a person's T cells and rewire them to attack their cancer. That is one of the best potential. I mean, we're seeing a lot of that already a bit with cancer treatments is our immunotherapies. Alrighty. At Michigan State University, they are making drought-resistant turf through genetics like this. We should think of other plants that need a lot of water to do this too. True. So let's have a look at this. So with the Rona, my corona never gonna stop. Oh, anyway. Okay, sorry. That's not even funny. That's never gonna stop. Give it up. Such a dirty fire, receiving it up on the top. It's my, woo. My corona. Gosh. That's not even funny. Why does my brain do that? I'll tell you. Last night, before I get into this, my brain last night and this morning has been on loop between two different songs, and they're both terrible. They're both terrible. The first one was freaking Jellicle Cats from the movie Cats, and the second was Kokomo by the Beach Boys. Neither one is fun to have on loop in your head, and it became some weird mashup in my brain. Thank you, past DJ Mel. So Jellicle Cats and Kokomo was a mashup in my head this morning. And yes, I did watch the Cats movie, and so I watched it so you don't have to. Just don't. Just don't. And I'm still recovering. Anyway, so often my brain busts out in random songs, particularly when there's science involved. And, sometimes it's Jellicle Cats and frickin' Kokomo by the Beach Boys in a weird mashup that I probably should make somewhere, because then people will just hate me forever. Anyway, let's talk about Corona, COVID-19 CRISPR technology as a novel treatment strategy for COVID-19. All right, this is okay. So what we got? Where do we start? We highlight the application of CRISPR technology as an emerging pan-antiviral therapy. We also discuss the challenges of in vivo delivery of CRISPR components. Yes, because that's a huge thing. Injecting CRISPR into people is still a big problem right now. Selective to achieve selective delivery exclusively into SARS-CoV-2 infective cells with high efficiency by hijacking the surface proteins of SARS-CoV-2. So essentially, they're addressing the fact that you can't just go injecting Cas9 enzymes and CRISPR tech into people because of the problem of attaching exclusively to the virus, the viral components, and not, human cells. And so that will be a particular thing on how to cause it to be targeted to COVID-19 and not human cells. And so let's have a look. What do they do? So when you're going through and you're reading a paper, first of all, don't read it like a magazine. Don't read a scientific paper like it's a magazine article. That is not the way to go about reading a scientific paper. I can play the blues for you and help you get over bad songs. Thank you, Harmonica Man. I like the blues. It's cool. COVID-21. That next year, man. Okay. So how do you read a scientific paper like this? You're like, okay, first of all, what you want to do is you want to go through and you read the abstract. And the abstract's really, really important. Identify the case. Was identifying the cause of the current pandemic. You go through and you read the abstract. There's in the keywords in particular. So when you're going through and you're like, I really want to try to read a scientific paper, if you're not familiar with the terminology, you're looking at a couple hours. Don't read it like it's a magazine article. You start with keywords, and it's important that you know what these words mean, like Cas, CRISPR, ACE2, that is a particular receptor. So you would need to be able to go through and highlight different keywords. Now, if you're like, okay, what do? Go through the introduction. If you're new to a particular type of science, you go through and you look at go through the introduction. Now, anything that's italicized tends to be like a genus or a family. In this case, it's order and family. Even though viruses aren't considered living, we still have genetic placements of them within their own species, even though they're not alive or living things as we like a bacteria is, or we are. So after you're done, you go talk to their English professor for not even introducing the authors to why passive voice is bad writing. Oh my goodness. All right. And so go through the introduction and have a look at that, because that gives you a little bit of a background of what's going on with that. And you're going to probably have to highlight certain things. COVID-1 binds to the angiotensin converting enzyme 2, ACE2. Might need to look up and see what angiotensin is. What does it do? It may not necessarily be relevant to this particular thing. While S protein in MERS COVID binds to dipeptidyl peptidase 4, DPP4. So these are different types of receptors. And so they have different pathways of entry into a cell. And so that's essentially what this is saying. And so while S protein is this, given the high sequence and structural similarity of S protein of SARS-CoV-2 to that of COVID-1, the former also binds to ACE2. And so ACE2 is pretty much expressed just about all over your body. So this particular receptor, the reason why so many people have COVID-19 affect their kidneys, lungs, nervous tissue, we've been finding it in semen, guys. Those of you who generate sperm, whatever your gender is, those of you who generate sperm, you can have the Rona in your sperm. So there you go. So again, it's numerous tissues in humans with high expression levels on the surface of the epithelia of the lungs. So that's the lining of the lungs, heart, kidneys. They're at high risk for this particular infection, even death. So this is why it's such a bad virus. And depending on how much viral load you get exposed to, this is why mask wearing is even good to reduce your risk of contracting the virus, because it will it may not hold all of it out, but it'll reduce the amount of viral load, which gives your immune system more time to develop a response, because you have your first level of immunity. You have a lot of macrophages and lots of that in your respiratory area. But because of the fact that your lungs have a high expression of the ACE2 receptor, coronavirus, lots of them can attach. They'll be able to attach because they'll be able to find one of those receptors and be able to attach to that. And so this is why we're seeing people having heart problems, lung problems, kidney problems. You don't want this virus because it's really bad. And also you have your initial immune response to where all of those macrophages are coming in. They recognize a foreign body. And guess what? Your lungs start filling up with that immune response of those macrophages that are trying to surround those cells. And so you get this influx of pressure. So all this fluid starts coming to your lungs, and it makes it hard for you to breathe. So that's why people have a hard time breathing. This is why their sense of smell gets all weird. They can't taste. Their sense of smell and taste changes because that virus is attaching to those epithelial cells. That's the skin cells within there. And it's just like it's messing everything up. Yes, we're talking about the Rona, Microraptor. My wife is constantly telling me I have no balls, so I might be cool down there anyway, says Bill Thompson. Oh my goodness, Bill. Don't drink infected semen. That's right, Nerdy Rodent. But, they don't wear signs. They usually don't wear signs. Hello, Microraptor. My cook coworker is dumb to want COVID over closing down partially. Plus, he only has one kidney. left over. Oh my goodness. Yeah, if you just got the one, you can't lose anymore. So CRISPR-Cas9 is a potential treatment. You still got to handle a lot of things. And then they talk a bit about conventional therapeutic strategies. That just means the different things that they're trying to treat COVID-19. And since it's a virus, all you can do is treat the symptoms. People are like, we need a cure for COVID-19. You're a virus, you usually don't get a cure. The idea is to make a vaccine to prevent infection. You just treat the symptoms until your body initiates the immune response to handle it. And the problem is there's often damage done afterwards. Lung damage, heart damage, even neural tissue damage. Some people are getting strokes because of the fact that there's clots that are forming from their strong immune response. I have allergies, so I have a strong immune response to things that aren't even harmful, like pollen. I really don't want to get the COVID-19 because of the fact I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to have the strong immune response that's going to fill my lungs with lots of antibodies and then I won't be able to breathe. My sister has an autoimmune disease. I don't. My brother is allergic to just about every food. Primarily anything with chicken. So eggs, chicken, all of that. So, it's you don't want this. And this whole idea of like, we just got to live with it, just like the flu. Okay, the flu is bad and it can kill people, and it can also cause people to catch pneumonia in addition to the flu. But the flu is not leaving you with permanent heart, kidney, and lung damage. They're leaving out the comorbidities. I mean, it's not giving you strokes and heart attacks, putting you on a ventilator because your lungs are full of your initial immune response. You know what I mean? Of macrophages and all of those that are going through trying to eat your bad viral infected cells. The flu's not doing that. And so to compare the two makes me really angry, particularly when people don't understand and they're not even willing to listen. And I get why they're not willing to listen, because they're afraid. People are afraid. And it's much easier to pretend a thing doesn't exist, burying your head in the sand, than to address it and recognize that this thing is here, it's real, and it's killing people. Let me catch up. Is the COVID-19 virus closely related to flu and cold viruses, or do they just have similar symptoms? They have some similarities. The cold viruses are coronaviruses. The flu, that's not, I don't think that's a coronavirus. But cold viruses are. You have some similar symptoms, but there are also very marked symptoms associated with COVID-19. There's pretty much almost always a fever. There's loss of smell. There's loss of taste. Those particular ones are very marked and very specific to COVID-19. And unlike the flu, those receptors on the outside, those change. That's why we need a new flu vaccine every 6 months or so, because that flu evolves so rapidly that the receptors on the outside of it change. So the mechanism of it entering into a human cell is different each time. That's not the case with COVID-19, since it's primarily ACE2 receptors are what it's binding to. Those receptors, the shape of those receptors don't change so much. And since it's such an effective way for the virus to enter into our cells It's not likely to change. So we can still generate a vaccine for COVID-19, even though it is mutating into worse strains. Worse strains meaning it can it can generate a higher viral load more rapidly, and it can become more infectious or easier to transmit. That's what we're seeing in the mutations of COVID-19. But the receptors on the outside are staying the same, which is good, because then we can go through and generate a vaccine to where the body will develop antibodies that will attach to those receptors. And it's important that those receptors stay the same shape, because then we can make certain our bodies make antibodies that will attach to those receptors on that COVID-19 virus to keep it from infecting another cell. It's like putting gum on a key, making it impossible for you to enter your house. It's a similar thing. So we want to gum up those keys that the virus is using, and that's essentially what vaccines do. So it's okay if the virus mutates. Well, it's not okay, but it's not like that's going to stop vaccine development at this time. So until those receptors change, we're still all right for a vaccine. So we got to kind of look at that. Yes, to my knowledge, I'm not in any risk group. I'm more concerned about spreading it to people who are at higher risk. Yes, but there are people who are not in a risk group that are catching particularly virulent strains, and strains where it has 200 times the viral load as another strain, and it's still causing kidney and lung damage. Even if you recover, you can still have these comorbidities afterwards. And with the current situation in the US, where they're looking at trying to remove the Affordable Care Act, being infected with COVID-19 might be considered, or previously infected, might be considered a pre-existing condition until at least a vaccine is shown. So when you go to the doctor, if they test you for COVID-19 and you've been infected, that's in your health records. That's going to be considered a pre-existing condition. Just like a woman who's had a baby, apparently pregnancy is considered a pre-existing condition. So if you had any issues with a pregnancy, they can choose to not cover that for like the first 3 to 6 months, depending on the type of insurance you have or your company pays for. So this is a real problem that's going to affect people, particularly if we use the Affordable Care Act. So there you go. In the UK, I have been following the Independent Sage Committee on YouTube every Friday at 1:30 p.m. British Standard Time. Honest, independent analysis of government data. That's cool. Flu and COVID-19 did originate from viruses, but are separate types of viruses. Maybe if Biden wins, I'll have to leave the country, says the senator for us. That's a Donald Trump quote. I mean, okay. Hey, Paul Camish, how are you doing? I hope you're having a good weekend too. But it's also mutating into more benign strains as well. Yes, that's true. It is mutating into more benign strains. And so if you're lucky, you'll get one of those. But here's the thing about RNA viruses. They have such a high rate of mutation. The more people that they enter, it's kind of, I always go with the slot machine, and the slot machine version here. Let me get this off of here. I always go with the slot machine analogy. If you're given like 1,000 nickels, you might hit the jackpot if you're sitting there and going there, but your odds of winning are actually pretty low. But if you're given unlimited nickels, and allowed to sit at that slot machine, eventually you're going to hit the jackpot. That's kind of what RNA viruses are like. That's often what COVID-19 is like when you're sitting there. If you allow this virus unlimited nickels being people, if it's allowed unlimited nickels, it's eventually going to hit the jackpot, which means we're in a race to come up with a vaccine before it hits the jackpot. And we need to do this and, persist in this research safely, so that the outside of it doesn't change too much to where we can develop a strong immune response through a vaccine, because we're seeing people who are infected. You can get reinfected, but with the new study, it's pretty low. However, the antibodies are showing to only last about 3 to 6 months, which means you might need multiple booster shots for COVID-19 until we eradicate it for the most part. But there are cases where a vaccine can elicit a strong immune response instead of being exposed to the virus alone. An example of that is HPV. So the HPV vaccine elicits a stronger immune response than if you were just exposed to the virus. And so even if you've been exposed to the virus before, it's still a good idea to get the vaccine because your body will elicit a stronger immune response to it. So there you go. So yeah, that's how we go with that. Man. The ACA is toast. It might be, particularly if they put in the current judge who's never actually tried a case. Isn't that great, guys? She couldn't even go through portions of the Constitution. She couldn't remember about freedom of assembly. It's part of the Constitution being protest. She forgot that part. They had to correct her. I'm not trying to hate on women in general. That's not what this is. I really don't want Mrs. Waterford as a SCOTUS, and the fact that she's associated with what I would consider a cult-like organization where she has to default to what her husband thinks, and her husband has a separate mentor that he has to talk to in order to make decisions. I find that troubling and shocking. It's very authoritarian, which is not democratic or any of that. So, yeah, rather not have Mrs. Waterford as a SCOTUS member, particularly since she doesn't know all of the Constitution and she's never tried a case. Not one. Not a single one. Ever. So, oh, you don't know about the cult she's in? Go back and have a look. I have an episode of This Week in BS. Let me show you. I will show you really quickly because I get into full detail about that. Let's see. Which means Biden has no health care plan. I'm hoping they just do Medicare for all because we already pay for that anyway. We already pay for that anyway. So let's have a look here. So if you didn't notice, you too can subscribe to my channel. So I did an episode a couple of weeks ago with Mero Nervardia, who is my co-host for This Week in BS. We talked about this. If you haven't had a chance to look, let me get this up here. This was this particular episode, Women Who Are Complicit in Oppression. So this wasn't a particularly funny, usually this is a comical show that we do, but sometimes it's just, oh my God, you know. So have a look. This was where she was announced, and we touch a bit about why it is that women, and I do talk about a bit of the cult-like organization she's a part of, where she's actually signed commitments with different churches and about her views, and including removing gay marriage. She's very staunchly pro-life, but is completely on board, I believe. And she dodged so many questions about the Affordable Care Act and such like that. But you can have a look at this. We get into why it is, and there's some science behind this, and we pull that up, why it is that women are complicit in their own oppression. So that's more of my, cheeky show, and we get a little sweary in that one, and usually it's funny and lighthearted, but there's just been so many things that have been weighing on us that we had to touch on. So you can have a look at that. Hashtag this week in BS. I get into a bit of detail there, and you can have a look with that. I know in the UK that won't affect us. We have healthcare for everyone. Isn't that nice? If we had 9-strand COVID, if you get a strand of COVID that has, doesn't do anything, manages to be a defunct version of the virus, then you're lucky. Oh my gosh. Never mind the nickels. You're our jackpot, Mel, says Mr. P. Aren't you sweet? Thank you for that. Oh, goodness. Well, if you close again, you'll hit the jackpot of getting unemployment benefits again. Of its jackpot. Yeah, I'm hearing people are getting more money in unemployment than they are actually getting paid. Maybe we need to pay our first line people more. Oh, goodness. Sweden just had its first person who has been confirmed to get corona twice. You're welcome, Harmonica Man. Thank you for being here. Things are deeply disturbing. Yeah, they are. Mrs. Waterford, that's a reference to The Handmaid's Tale. So if you haven't checked that out, she actually pushed to have the authoritarian state that's discussed, or that is in The Handmaid's Tale, on how certain women are unable to have children, and so the women who are able to reproduce are forced into a type of sexual slavery, and they're put in with a particular household. And it's really disturbing and creepy, and it's really strange how Amy Coney Barrett wants to have forced birth, and doesn't really have much of an opinion on children being taken from their parents at the border with our immigrants. And the fact that she does adopt, so I can't help but put the connection together. She's completely fine with forcing women to have babies, and she'll go and take their kids. That's what I'm seeing. So it's like Mrs. Waterford really bad. So, oh my gosh. Man. Good morning, Randolph. How you doing? Yeah, gosh, yeah. Check out, if you have a Hulu subscription, check out The Handmaid's Tale. But make certain you're in a mental state to be able to receive that, because it's pretty rough. Yay! Upvote, thumbs up. Healthcare for everyone and considerably cheaper. That would be nice. Let's see. Hello. Oh gosh, I'm going to say your name wrong, and I want to apologize for that. So if there's a better way for me to pronounce your name phonetically, please feel free to put it in the chat. Liebenswerdig? Is it Scheusel? Hello to you. And I'm very sorry if I mispronounced your name. I do try to get that right, because those are people's names and those are important. Hello, Cadence. How you doing? Alrighty. So I think I've caught up on all of the chat. So what are we looking at, guys? I had talked before, I'd gotten into discussion about with the VP debate, where Kamala had said she would not take a vaccine if Trump told her to. But she would take it if Dr. Fauci told her to. Now, Dr. Fauci is part of NIH, and they do collaborate with the CDC. Dr. Fauci is not in charge of the FDA, and the fact that the administration has put pressure on the FDA, for instance, to allow the use of hydroxychloroquine, even though there was nothing substantial to show that it could treat COVID-19, the use of that actually ended up killing people. And so, no, don't use it. Don't use that at all. But that just goes to show you that it's a bit scary. And so when I was talking with my friend Doc Savage, and I was asking him questions because he's in vaccine generation and he's currently working to produce a vaccine out in Layton. He's head of the product production. He oversees the people who do the research. So he's in charge of all that, and he's very busy. So he told me that the FDA are not ignoring safeguards that are in place. So that's good. That made me feel better. But if an expert in the field says a vaccine is safe, I will believe them. If Donald Trump says, here, inject this into your body because I want you to do it, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with the advice of the experts in the field. So if I ever have questions about that, I always hit up Doc Savage, and he's really nice to answer them for me. He's my friend, and I'm glad I get to call him my friend. And I miss talking with him. He's busy, y'all. He's for real busy. But he's being Tony Stark right now, saving the world. So that's just how it is. Anyway, so if Dr. Fauci says it's okay, get the vaccine, y'all. I might be part of a vaccine study. I need to call them back. I was kind of scared at first, but they called me back and if you're still interested, call us back. So I will let you know if I would take a particular vaccine or not, and you can go and get your advice from your choice of doctor. So there you go. All right, so coming up tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central, I will be back live again with Nervardia, and we're going to talk about all the garbage that Facebook is throwing at me, saying you need to get up off your fat butt and get some exercise done. And some of the stuff. Yes, we trust Doc Savage. I trust Doc Savage. A year ago, I was hanging out with him. It was this time. It was this time last year. I was hanging out with him. He's a really nice person. Very, very devoted to his work. And he's super knowledgeable and very down to earth. He has his own quirky things about him, but that just makes him cool in the way that he is. So there you go. And it's noon where I'm at. Don't know if you can hear the sirens. They go off at noon every day. I feel like I'm in Silent Hill or something. I need to run into the house. The woo sounds. It's our tornado sirens that they test every day at noon. And it's air raid sirens. Anyway, there you go. Does anyone else remember the good old days when we told people to drink bleach because we hated it and not because the POTUS recommended it? It's a sinister porpoise. Oh my goodness. Do you ever talk about the science related to trans identities? I have. I've actually talked about, I should probably do that again. I talked about sex versus gender. Genetic sex versus gender. It's not binary. It's bimodal. There are not two sexes. There's two ends, but there's a whole lot in the middle. And so there you go. Hi, Bee family. How you doing? What if you have a tornado at noon? I guess let us know what's going on. That's what happens if you get a tornado at noon, Cadence. Well, I hope your 7 doctors help you, Harmonica Man, at that you find relief for whatever's going on soon. Man, so what's going on? I argue about that on the internet all the time. It's a pointless debate because most people think 8th grade biology is where their biological education stops. I know. And I also have talked about trans children. And I had Lavender Lady on for that particular episode where we talked, and I had brief brain facts on as well. And you can find that episode on my channel. And that was another episode of This Week in BS where I talked about trans identity in children and puberty blockers, which are completely reversible, by the way, and that don't do any particular harm. Oh my goodness. Tornado. Oh gosh. Well, guys, we've been at this for 2 hours. Y'all have been entertained that long? I'm amazed. You've been here. Let me shell out my store, I guess, if you guys. And also, Mega Dizzle. We need to make a new t-shirt. So tell me which one you like, which name you like better. Throw it in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter. You can use the hashtag #TheScienceOf. I've recently started doing some Black Lives Matter gear for YouTube Gonna Go For It for their channel, with the show that Peter does with Robert and Lilith. So you can check this out. So let's go here. Here's my website. You can find Jackson Wheat does articles on here from time to time. I have an audio podcast that you can find. I also post the different trivia quizzes that I do, where you too can go and click on there and play around with it. It's an interactive trivia quiz, similar to what I would do on Fridays whenever I have time again to do that. You can go to the shop, click on there. I also have articles that I've written. So All Lives Don't Matter Until Black Lives Matter. That's some gear for Gonna Go For It's channel, where all proceeds are donated to Black Lives Matter. Here's a hat I made because I thought this was awesome. This gets donated as well to Black Lives Matter. Would you just shut up, man? That's a hat there. If you want that on a hat. The recent, I'm thinking about doing a Kamala shirt that says, I'm speaking. So there's different stuff there. You can check that out. Let's see. So, I'll be putting the Mega Dizzle shirt on here, I guess, once I get that together. Push my buttons and we can multiply, right? Isn't it? Push my buttons and we can multiply. Just, cheeky little fun sciencey gear you can find. Like, how's the science dog? She's good. She's my supervisor. She pooed in the house earlier this morning, so I wasn't happy about that. I also do gear for the Taste of Science for their organization. Scientist definition. So there's lots of different sciencey stuff that you can find here. Here, my Marie Curie crush t-shirt. #crush. Of course. We all crush on Marie Curie. So you can all check that out. That data, though, y'all know what I mean. You scientists there that be looking at good data, you're like, that data, though. That's one way. Toss a coin to your teacher for the Witcher fans. Fibonacci, easy as 1, 1, 2, 3. So there's lots of different stuff here. Here's my entomologist t-shirt. If you like cars, they're bugs, entomology. So there's lots of different little fun stuff here. Just in time for the holidays. If you want to do that. And if you want to support a good cause, you can click on, there's a section called Blocked By. If you go to the shop, if you want to I want to buy stuff that's going to help causes, where I can find all of the little snarky stuff that people have said about Mel. All the proceeds here go to charity. And it's not just people who have blocked me and stuff. I just kept the category. But the organizations that benefit: American Depression and Anxiety Association, World Wildlife Federation, National Center for Trans Equality, Planned Parenthood, RAIN, Human Rights Campaign, Humane Society, all of that. And you can check out all of the gear associated with that. Queer and STEM, that goes to the Trevor Project. I have Pride gear. So these are all different charities. So if you want, like, I want to buy some cool stuff, but I want to donate to charity, there you go. There you go. I've met Satan. That's a quote from somebody who had said something. It's not a straw man argument to quote your own words to you. Actual reply I had for a thing. But there you go. You can check out some of the stuff. I'll add a bit more stuff here. But yeah, you can have like the little little neck gaiters for that if you like. So yes. So with that said, I have got the store commercial. All right. Thank you, Peter, for that particular commercial. Yes. She was a superhero science. No, I crush on Hedy Lamarr, Ada Lovelace, and Rear Admiral Grace Hopper. You know what? I need to make some t-shirts for them. Not bad for an English speaker. Thank you. I'm so happy I said your name almost right. Almost right. Thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm so glad I said your name almost right. Yes, all lives matter, which is why Black Lives Matter is important. That's right. It is. But until they do matter, all lives don't really matter. That's the thing. Until Black Lives Matter. That's right. I've been to the crossroads. Satan didn't show up. You know, I imagine that would be a heck of a party. Have you seen the show Lucifer on Netflix? Cam girl for science. That almost sounds kinky. That is because somebody tried to perpetuate a rumor that was started by my online stalker that I was an online sex worker, which I have nothing against online sex workers, but it was meant to hurt my my character, my reputation, and try to perpetuate slander that could affect my job at the time. So I'm like, you know what? I am a cam girl, but for science. I do get paid to do science communication, so why not? I'm like, sure. So there you go. There you go. So do check out that stuff if you like. If you like stuff and you're like, I want to read stuff that she says. I want to read some things that she says. You can also click on articles, and you can find the different things that I've written. Some of these will have little trigger warnings like I'm a good girl, please. That one's about a sexual assault. I need to probably write a bit more. Cancer. Look, I misspelled alternative. I really need an editor to go through all of this. Narcissist, a spectrum of abusers. That's an opinion piece that's based on some information associated with narcissists. The pseudoscience of PETA. PETA has me blocked on Twitter. So I have different things that you can check out. Let's see. So I'll put them in the side chat. You can read my stuff and check out my shop while you're there. I'm not like super heavy needing money per se, but there you go. You can read some of that stuff. My piece on Goop, the fashion of pseudoscience and the designer nonsense. Sexual assault, the not secret. I get into why it is women don't report. Effective teaching, meeting the needs of exceptional learners. So why are we giving science deniers a platform? I really like this piece, The Invisible Giants and the Magic 8-Ball Earth. Invisible Giants in the Universe and the Magic 8-Ball Earth. It's a work of fiction, and I feel like it kind of reads like a Douglas Adams kind of story, which is kind of cool, or Terry Pratchett-like. And so it gets into the you can't prove it isn't true argument and how that doesn't work. And so I tell a story about how it is that people get things wrong. And that some of these stories have some basis in facts, but people often misrepresent them to suit their own bias. So do check out some of these things. These are a lot of fun. Some of them are fun. Some of them are heavy. As a science educator and former biology teacher, high school biology teacher in the Bible Belt, how do you overcome religious obstacles when you're communicating science and that sort of thing, and cultural obstacles for that? Wonder Woman. I even talk about why Wonder Woman mattered. Depression, responding as non-sufferers, since we recently had mental health day. I think it was mental health day. I worked in collaboration privately with a lot of different people who suffer depression, and they helped me write this. I don't suffer depression. I have anxiety, and it's something different. So I wanted to know what was helpful for people, how to respond to somebody with depression. And so I went through and I wrote out this piece asking people who suffer depression what's going on. And I asked them questions, and so I collectively took all of what they had to say and put it together in an article. And how do you respond to somebody who's suffering from depression? So just stuff like that. So give that a look if you like. I really need to start uploading more of my audio podcast. Hey ScientistMel, hashtag Hey ScientistMel. So that's on my list of things to do too. Taking the audio versions of these live streams and putting them on. You can find it on iTunes, I believe. You can find it there. Listen to older ones. Okay. With that said, I'm gonna check the chat one more time, and then I'm gonna let y'all go and be like, you have an awesome Saturday and stuff. So. Let's see. Aunt Jer, as in fur. See, I remember. How you doing? Hey, Jen's little corner. What's going on? Let's see. The blues harp doesn't have the right metallurgy for pro playing. I use a special 20 progressives for now until I can get custom built ones. Wow. Okay. I'm surprised Autism Speaks doesn't have me blocked on Twitter. Yeah, I've kind of separated myself a bit from any kind of involvement with that organization. You're good at editing? Awesome. Thank you, Aunt Jer. I might take you up on that. Let's see. Thought that was interesting, not really useful. Let's see. It shouldn't. It's deliberate cheat. I missed something associated with that. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm almost caught up. All right. Much thanks for your time, Mel. Well, thank you, Bill Thompson. I'm glad you've been here listening. Oh, Greg's been listening while getting schoolwork done. That's awesome. So there you go. That's okay. So look for open education resources here. I'm going to call it a masterclass. I already have a bit of an intro for that. Let me see if I can, I'll see if I can find that really quickly before I go. I think I have it on here. Peter made it for me. And it was, I think it's under extras. Let me see if I can find it. Yes, it is. Okay. So here we go. Let me see if I can pop this up. So this will be the intro for my masterclass. There you go. So Mel's masterclass. So that will be the intro for my open education resources for chemistry. So there you go, guys. Have a look for that. I'll do what I can for other disciplines in science, but I want to make certain I have the appropriate professors that can double check the information, and I can use ChemStacks for that, and make certain that they clear me on stuff. Because technically my post-grad degrees are in teaching and in arts. It's an arts degree in teaching, and also I have a master's in chemistry. So technically speaking, I can't technically teach biology on a college level, even though I'm probably like 4 classes from that in a master's program, 4 or 5 classes in a master's program before I could, if I wanted to. But I know enough professors to where I could, hey, branch out into other divisions of science. So, and I will be using again OpenStax.org, and I will incorporate lab simulations that are also available for free through chemcollective.org and phet.colorado.edu. So you'll have assignments that you can do in problems you can work on. I'll generate some, and I'll have slides associated with that to where you'll be able to download and follow along and catch up and stuff and refresh your knowledge in chemistry. And I'm going to start with general chemistry 1 and 2, and then I'll branch into other divisions like analytical and a little bit of physical chemistry, things like that. It'll be like a Diet Coke version for physical chemistry, guys. Mostly conceptual. Calc 3 is not my jam. So it'll be more of conceptual aspects of physical chemistry. Maybe a little bit of organic. Can touch on that as well, but those are further on down the line. But we're going to start Gen Chem 1 and 2 and move on from there and see how you guys do with that. So I'm glad you guys like that little intro. We should have a maths and physics discussion sometime, Mel. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. I'm glad you guys like that intro. It's cool. It's really cool. It's masterclass has a really nice 90s feel to it. It does. It's kind of fun. So it's quirky. And you're like, hey, we're not scared to be here. It's almost Magic School Bus, huh? So there you go. Yeah. I get more work. All right. Well, let me read a little Mr. Rogers. Because, for whatever reason, when I read Mr. Rogers at the end of every episode, because we need more Mr. Rogers in our lives. So it's really upsetting. I'm still sad he's not here. And somebody compared Biden to Mr. Rogers, and they said that was a bad thing. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Are you really saying that's the shade you're throwing at Joe Biden, is that he reminds you of Mr. Rogers? That's your shade. Really? Mr. Rogers is a role model of millions of people in the world. I mean, mostly Americans, but the people overseas who do finally get a little glimpse at Mr. Rogers, they get it. Oh my gosh. So let's see. I'm just going to pick a quote. Here we go. I love this. Okay. Okay, so here we go. I like this. This is the challenges of interdiscipline. So this is from The World According to Mr. Rogers. The great poet Rainer Marie Rilke wrote, "Be patient towards all that is unsolved in your heart, and learn to love the questions themselves." So that's really important. I mean, so even if you don't have answers to your questions, appreciate that you have them and love those questions. I really kind of like that. Let me see if I can find one more. It's true that we take a great deal of our own upbringing on into our adult lives and our lives as parents, but it's true too that we can change some of the things that we would like to change. It can be hard, but it can be done. So yes, if you don't want to be racist anymore, racist people, it's hard to change that and to recognize the association with that. But you can change. It's hard to change, but you can change. You don't have to be closed-minded. Open up your mind. Accept that it's okay to be wrong and grow. All right, let me catch up. Mr. Rogers was very popular across Canada too. Most people here watched his program during early childhood. Oh gosh, I love Mr. Rogers. is his first name Buck. It's not Buck Rogers. Oh my goodness. No. I did a whole, hey OXPMA, what's going on? How you doing? I did a whole episode on how Mr. Rogers educates because a documentary had come out about him. And PBS struck my channel at first, but then I said, hey guys, I actually am raising money, and you can click on at the end of that stream, you can click on and donate to PBS. So if you haven't checked out my episode on Mr. Rogers, this was a little while ago. Oh gosh, this was 2 years ago, actually. So this was before I got my super fancy stuff. But here you are, and even had different glasses. So I go through and I talk about, this is like really old style. This is nowhere, it's like old stuff, born 1928. So if you haven't checked this out, give that a go. You can learn about how it is. There are still people who study. Mr. Rogers' teaching style and do a thesis on it for their PhD. So do check it out if you haven't. That way you can kind of know. And it's harder to find, so I'll copy that and post it here in the chat if you want. And you can check out the Mr. Rogers episode. So there you go. Oh my gosh. Alrighty. He doesn't mean much to Australians. That's okay. That's okay, Jen. It's like anybody who talks ugly about Mr. Rogers or thinks that calling somebody Mr. Rogers is an insult. It's just like, what is wrong with you? So there you go. So that's the world according to Mr. Rogers. You know, he was just really loving. I just love this book. I just really love this book, The World According to Mr. Rogers. It's just different quotes he has about his life and stuff. So, so there you go. So I guess I'm going to end this stream because now we're on 2.5 hours. Good gravy, guys. Good gravy. 2.5 hours. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being here and hanging out with me. And then I'll end it with what I always say about Mr. Rogers. And I say, you always make each day special for me. You know how? By just your being you. I'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central for This Week in BS. Sending squishy science hugs. Be safe. Wear a mask. Wash your hands. Bye.